Good afternoon. A little chills back in the air. Check your local forecast if you planted some early crops. There could be a freeze tonight. From the KUOW newsroom, this is Seattle Now. I'm Paige Browning with a roundup of today's top stories. It's Tuesday, April 7th. Iranian Americans clashed on the steps of Seattle City Hall today over Trump's threats that, quote, a whole civilization will die tonight. Trump has since announced a temporary ceasefire. Minutes before he did, Representative Daria Faravar, a Democrat in the state legislature, was interrupted by people holding signs saying, "Make Iran great again."
At the start, we were told this is about helping the Iranian people, about liberation, about regime change. But we have always known that bombs do not liberate people. They kill families. They destroy futures. They erase futures.
After Faravar spoke, the rally devolved into two sides, one chanting, "No war with Iran," the other chanting, "USA, thank you." Washington's two Republican congressmen did not respond to KUOW's request for comment, asking about the threats. If Trump does eventually escalate the war in Iran, Washington Congressman Adam Smith says no one will benefit. Smith, who's a Democrat, is the ranking member of the House Armed Services Committee, and he spoke to NPR's Morning Edition today.
This approach just is going to make a lot more people suffer in the Middle East, globally. But you've got countries throughout Asia that can't get access to gasoline. The price of gas is now up by well over $1 from when this war started, which proves among the many things that Donald Trump doesn't understand. He doesn't understand how the global oil economy works and how it does impact us.
Smith says the president's threats could be considered a war crime under international law. The Trump administration has defended the war, saying it was necessary to destroy Iran's ballistic missile capabilities. A space update. The Artemis II mission crew is honoring the pioneers who came before them, including a longtime Washington state resident. Astronaut William Anders lived on Orcas Island for more than 30 years. He was a member of the Apollo 8 crew in 1968 when he snapped the famous Earthrise photo, showing a bright Earth emerging from shadows behind the moon. Artemis mission specialist Christina Cook reflected on that photo and the Apollo 8 crew as they rounded the moon this week.
The Earthrise, which this crew is responsible for taking that photo, has been instrumental both to our crew as our ethos and values, but also just personally to myself. I had the photo up in my room as a kid, and it was part of what inspired me to keep working hard to achieve things I dreamed about.
The Earthrise photos credited with helping to raise awareness about ecology and the environment. Anders died 2 years ago in a plane crash at age 90. The crew of the Artemis II is heading back toward Earth after their journey to the farthest point ever reached by humans. U.S. Senator Maria Cantwell says it would not have happened without contributions from Washington State, which she calls the Silicon Valley of space. Cantwell recently visited several Washington companies that contributed technology, engineering, and expertise, including L3 Harris in Redmond, which supplied thrusters for this mission.
We're really proud that the state is playing such a big role in solving these space problems. Ultimately, Artemis is about returning to the moon and building a permanent moon base that can then be used for accelerating our travel to Mars. So really, really big moment for the Pacific Northwest.
Cantwell says more than 40 Washington companies had a hand in the Artemis mission. A sigh of relief in Snohomish County. The measles outbreak is over. The Snohomish County Health Department declared today that the months-long outbreak has ended and that the last connected case was recorded in February. However, measles is still expected to spread in both Snohomish County and throughout the state. The state has recorded 33 cases of the highly contagious disease this year, most recently in King, Kittitas, and Walla Walla counties. Experts have called measles a disease of the unvaccinated. In immigration news, we have eyes on new data today. ICE agents arrested more than 2,100 people in Washington state between October and March 10th. That's according to the Deportation Data Project at UC Berkeley. The Washington State Standard reports that half of them have no criminal convictions or charges against them. The Seattle Japanese Garden will close this summer for restoration. For 5 weeks, starting June 22nd, the garden will completely close, and the northern section will stay off limits until November. The garden's a fixture at the Washington Park Arboretum, but needs landscape restoration and a new retaining wall. A master stonemason from Japan will lead the wall's construction, which will be done using a technique called ishigaki. And finally today, some Cougar sports news. Washington State University has permanently hired John Harlow to be its new athletic director. As Spokane Public Radio's Doug Nadvornik reports, Harlow's been the interim director since last fall.
President Elizabeth Cantwell says Harlow has shown that he's capable of leading WSU athletics through an important transition. As interim director, he guided his department through an aggressive push to raise money to pay football players and other athletes so they would stay at the university. He hired a new head football coach and a new women's soccer coach. He made his department more visible through events around the state, including last weekend in Spokane. Cantwell says boosting the athletics department is a key part of her strategy to help the university become more attractive to prospective students and to increase enrollment. The university is making improvements to Martin Stadium as a way to lure more fans to football games next fall. And now with Harlow as the official athletic director, the school is gearing up for another major transition. In less than 3 months, WSU and Oregon State will welcome 7 universities to a revamped Pac-12 conference. Those newbies, including Gonzaga, will replace 10 schools that jumped to other athletic leagues. I'm Doug Nadvornik reporting.
Next time on Seattle Now, prediction markets are shaking up Washington's strict gambling laws, and Washington is taking one company to court.
So the state wants a judge to essentially tell Kalshi you cannot operate in Washington, and they are demanding that Kalshi repays all of the money that Washingtonians have lost on what the state says are illegal bets.
Hear more Wednesday morning. That's all for today from the KUOW newsroom in Seattle. Our producer is Andy Hurst. I'm Paige Browning. Seattle Now and KUOW are members of the NPR network. See ya.